Detroit Lions fans, what's up? It's your boy Will back with another one. Flying solo dolo today, man. We decided to give Steve a little vacation time today. Spend some time with that pretty fresh little daughter of his. You know what I mean? We don't give much to Steve in vacation time, but we'll let him have one for today. I think that pretty much covers his vacation time though for 2026. That said, I think there's a lot, like I said, this offseason, it's going to be a lot of stuff for the Detroit Lions. I'm calling it the most juicy offseason since Coach Campbell and Brad Holmes have been with the Detroit Lions. I think this thing is pretty pivotal for our Super Bowl hopes and just our hopes for the future. So, getting right into it, I want to talk and start this thing off with the press conference. And I know a lot of people have talked about the press conference. I think Steve might have mentioned it a little bit, but I wasn't on that particular episode. So I'm going to give my 2 cents. Then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this thing and how I feel about things moving forward. When I looked at Brad at that press conference, he gave me a little bit of what I wanted. I was hoping that he would take ownership over the state of the Detroit Lions, the situation as far as how our season finished without making the playoffs. Situation with pass rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. And for those of you that are going to say Al Qadim Muhammad was the answer, I think Al Qadim Muhammad played absolutely out of his mind, but I still don't think that's the long-term answer to play opposite Aiden Hutchinson. I think that there were some moves that could have been made. I think he could have been a little bit more aggressive at the trade deadline. And I think he could have been a little bit more aggressive in the draft. He did make mention that we don't get to see the things that don't come to fruition. We're not in those rooms and it's not talked about. I get all that and I can appreciate all that. But I like to follow the trail of information through guys like Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero. Those guys talk to everyone. They're connected. And when people are in contact with teams, when people are in contact with owners and coaches, that information tends to get leaked. And I didn't see a lot of information getting leaked with the Detroit Lions making contacts with teams to make moves. So I'm not going to sit here and call Brad Holmes a liar, but what I am going to do is say something smells fishy. But the bottom line is this. End of the season, Coach Campbell and Brad Holmes both said they give themselves an F. They give themselves an F. And I have big time grievances with the season in general. I respect the F that them gave themselves. I don't know that I would have gave them an F, but if you're saying pass fail, it definitely is a fail. We didn't make the playoffs. It's not good enough. This is a team that pretty much everybody, fans, media, team, coach and staff, front office, was talking about as a Super Bowl caliber team. We were talking about it was Super Bowl or bust, and you don't even make the playoffs. I guess you definitely got to call that an absolute fall on your face bust for the Detroit Lions. So when I think about that, why did that happen is really what I'm here to talk about, and it wasn't acceptable the way that it happened. Reflecting on the season, reflecting on some of the decisions that we made going into the season, whether it was making Johnny Moe the offensive coordinator or going with Calvin Shepard as a defensive coordinator, not backing up a truck to Ben Johnson and just paying him $1 less than Brad Holmes to keep him around. I think that there was a lot of mistakes made by the Detroit Lions. When I look at the Detroit Lions, I think about a team that it's a Super Bowl caliber team now, and I am thankful for that. I hear a lot of fans on Twitter and throughout media talking about Detroit Lions fans have gotten greedy. Now we think that we're supposed to be a Super Bowl winning team. We should be just happy to be a winning team now. No, man, that's not enough. I do appreciate the fact that this is the same Detroit Lions that I've grown up with. Just wanting to be a part of. And then I apologize. I'm watching the end of this Rams game. Matthew Stafford needs to be first ballot Hall of Famer, MVP of this league. It is just unreal. Great job by Matt Stafford leading what looks like a comeback victory against the Carolina Panthers. But getting back to it, sorry guys. I'm a fan. I'm a football fan. But getting back into it, I gotta say, two things that really I feel like was irresponsible for the Detroit Lions is hiring Johnny Moe and Calvin Shepard, man. And I got nothing against Coach Shep. I think Coach Shep did a decent job as DC this year. I think he would have did a phenomenal job if he had a couple more seasons under maybe somebody different. Maybe he gets an opportunity to coach underneath Aaron Glenn, and then we bring somebody else in. And by somebody else, I mean there was two guys from an offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator standpoint that were out there for the Detroit Lions to poach, out there for the Detroit Lions to uh really pull in as veteran proven guys. And instead of doing that, we had to be the smartest guys in the room. We had to go down a road to where we weren't sure, the unproven road. And by unproven, I mean there wasn't a history of success for Coach Shep or a history of success for Coach Morton, even though I know he got to have a cup of coffee with the New York Jets, right? There was other guys out there. And when I say other guys, um, there's two guys that I had in mind, right? Robert Saleh and Josh McDaniels. Going into this season, both of those guys were available. Josh McDaniels was a guy who was fired by as the head coach of the Raiders. He went and took a season off. He was an absolute free agent. This is a guy who's has 6 Super Bowl wins under his belt. This is a guy who's put out number 1 offenses. This was a guy who broke the record for offense. This is a tried and true play caller. When you are the head coach and the general manager of a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl, why wouldn't you be looking to bring in guys who have a high level of experience, guys who have done the thing that you're trying to do, which is win the Super Bowl? Josh McDaniel has won it 6 times. I think 3 as an OC, and then 3 as a position coach. This is an absolute no-brainer for me, man. And by didn't bring him in, I could understand if you brought him in, you interviewed him, and he didn't take the job. No, he wasn't even a guy who got an interview. And there's other guys too, but he's just somebody that stood out to me. So instead of going with a guy like that, we went with a guy like Coach Morton. Because of what? And this is not to throw crap on Coach Morton. I said it in the beginning. I didn't love the hire when we did it, but I'm not trying to throw any shade at him. I just thought it was an irresponsible move for the head coach and the general manager of a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl. All I could think about as an analogy is this. If I was getting a surgery done, who would I want to do that surgery? A doctor that's done the surgery a bazillion times, a doctor who has been up for awards for doing the surgery, or some dude who's did it a couple of times. He's had some success. He's had some failures. Which guy would I want doing the surgery? It's the same thing to me. I believe in KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Bring in a dude that's experienced. On the flip coin of that, we lost Aaron Glenn. Kelvin Shepard was talked about as a hot name, a up and comer. And then since then, we've even talked about guys like Sean Dean Hamilton being an absolute defensive genius and a wizard as an up and coming young guy. That's great. I think it would have been a smart move to bring in Robert Saleh. Again, another dude that did not get an interview. This is a guy who is from a rock's throw from Detroit, Allen Park, where we practice at. This is a guy who's from Dearborn, Michigan. Michigan ties. We didn't bring this guy in for an interview. This is 2 guys. McDaniel, Saleh, phenomenal coaches. Saleh's put out, same thing. San Francisco 49ers, top-ranked defenses. The resume precedes him. Dude's an absolute monster as a DC. He didn't get an interview to be the DC in his hometown. I just don't understand the thought process behind it. I think that it's, again, irresponsible. So what does he do? He goes and becomes the DC, goes back home to the San Francisco 49ers, and puts up a phenomenal defense without the 2 best players. No Bosa, no Warner. Still, they lost Greenlaw. They lost Greenlaw to free agency. Gets busy with the guys that he has and puts out a phenomenal defense, and they make it to the playoffs. I think I'm not going to sit up here and say that Coach Campbell and Brad Holmes they're in the hot seat, but I do think when I really take some time to reflect on the big picture of this thing, it was completely irresponsible to go with guys that didn't have a proven history of success as play callers on both sides of the football when those guys were available. It would have been a great opportunity for Coach Shep to continue to develop under Coach Saleh, and then maybe Coach Saleh stays a season or 2, dips out, and then maybe you go with Coach Shep after he's got an opportunity to go be under Glenn and under Salah and kind of pick from both of those guys' brains, then maybe you make that move. Same thing for the Detroit Lions from an offensive coordinator standpoint. David Blau was somebody who was mentioned as a guy who was going to be interviewed by the Detroit Lions. Since then, he's went to become the OC for the Washington Commanders. Maybe you bring in McDaniels and a guy like Blau is somebody who becomes his understudy. And then maybe eventually, after he's been behind him for some seasons, then maybe you go with a guy like David Blau. But right now, when we're trying to achieve that first Super Bowl, make it to it, let alone win it, why wouldn't you be getting dudes in the building that have been there? Why wouldn't you get guys in the building who are tried and true and have a great history in the NFL? For me, that is the biggest thing that I'm taking away between the press conference and just reflecting on the Detroit Lions season this year. Just irresponsible for our general manager. Sheila's got to take a little bit of this too. Chris Spielman, Rod Wood, all of them. They got to take ownership in this and say, hey, listen, we should have got a veteran. We should have got somebody tried and true. And I hope that we don't make the same mistake moving forward. The landscape of the coaching realm right now, the candidates, there's a lot of guys with a lot of experience. There's a lot of guys that are gurus, that are wizards, that are some of the best offensive and defensive minds in the game right now that are available. Detroit Lions need to back a truck up to their house and offer him $1 less than Dan Campbell. Right, that's what I'm looking at. And we'll get into Steve and we'll get into who we really like as our candidates as more coaches are becoming available. I'm sure tomorrow or the next day we'll drop some content on that. I won't get into that right now, but we really need to get veteran guys. I'm sick of the unproven guys. A guy coming in and getting a shot. You don't give a guy a shot with a Super Bowl team. You give a guy a shot with a team that is an up-and-coming team. We're not up-and-coming anymore. We've arrived, and now the expectation is we win a Super Bowl. So just let me know how you're feeling in the comments, man. That's my 2 cents on it. I think that Brad got to the podium. He said some good stuff, but at the end of the day, he gave himself an F, and I agree with that F for him and Coach Campbell. I think that there's some things that we could have did better, and it started with the acquisition of those offensive and defensive coordinators. I'm still in the boat that I think Coach Shep was probably got an 80% chance to be back, depending on a couple of guys who are just absolute home runs at the DC position. And he hasn't announced that it's automatically going to be Coach Shep returning. So I think it's still up in the air. But from an offensive coordinator position, man, let's get one of these guys that's tried and true. So leave it in the comments. Who do you want to be the OC? Do you want to keep Coach Shep? If you don't, who do you want to see as DC?